What if I told you that the way modern women are evolving isn't entirely by their own design? What if beneath all the independence, perceived toughness, and frenetic energy, there lurks a spiritual misalignment that few dare discuss? You've likely sensed it, a subtle disquiet. The natural polarity between masculine and feminine forces has unraveled. And what you witness on social platforms, in relationships, and in family dynamics isn't merely a sign of cultural degradation. It is the vibrational fallout of a far deeper spiritual collapse. Perhaps you've observed it yourself, the emergence of women who no longer embody softness or gentle nurturing. Women who have grown guarded, incisive, sometimes even aggressive, constantly in pursuit of something elusive, yet never finding true satisfaction. They are celebrated for their strength while their inner spirit grows weary. They may appear empowered on the surface, yet many are silently fracturing from within. And if you're questioning why, it's because the masculine guidance is failing to lead. This isn't a discussion about politics. It's about energy, about divine duality. It's about the timeless interplay between chaos and order. The feminine is like a meandering river, emotional, instinctive, and intuitive. The masculine, in contrast, is the riverbank, firm, guiding, resolute. But what occurs when the river loses its boundary? It overflows, overwhelms, and ultimately engulfs all in its path. Not from malice, but because without form, even the purest flow becomes destructive. Modern women have arrived at this state because the structural support, the masculine framework, the mindful direction, the sacred father figure, has largely vanished. And when that masculine element disappears, the feminine shifts its nature, not as an act of defiance, but as a mode of survival. Most women never desire to be hardened or burdened with carrying every load, yet many have been forced into that role, and the underlying spiritual injury is profound. For generations, the masculine expression on this planet has been warped, abusive, absent, or in deep slumber, so the feminine responded by forming protective armors. But that armor, though it shields, is also heavy. Now you see the wear of decades of energetic imbalance playing out on viral videos and trending podcasts. If you're a man watching these words, understand this. This isn't a condemnation, it's a call to awaken. Because if you continue to look outward and pin the blame solely on women for their transformation, you miss the essential truth. The distortion began when the masculine energy, the one you were born to manifest, abandoned its rightful throne. Not only politically or socially, but on a spiritual level. Ask yourself, when did men cease to be the guardians of the sacred? When did masculinity become interchangeable with aggression rather than embodying presence? When did true strength shift from being a sacred duty to becoming mere domination? The world isn't in need of more tough guys. It's in need of mindful, awakened men. Men who can hold space not merely physically, but vibrationally. Here lies the truth no one wants to voice. When a woman no longer feels safe, she hardens. When she isn't truly seen, she resorts to performance. When she isn't held, she instinctively holds everything. And that is what you are witnessing. A generation of women who seem detached from their innately feminine essence. Not because they choose this state, but because they have learned not to trust that anyone can genuinely embrace it. And you can sense it in relationships where the dynamic feels off. When you attempt to lead and she pushes back. When you try to bring softness and she keeps her distance. It isn't personal. It's a pattern that's been programmed. Generations of women have inherited the trauma of a collapsed masculine ideal. And unless a man has done the inner work to uphold his masculine truth, not as a show of ego, but as a core energetic reality, she will continue leading in defense. Not because she desires it, but because she's terrified of the alternative. This is what remains unsaid, that the transformation in women is a mirror reflecting the collective masculine wound. If you are willing to peer beneath the surface, you'll see it clearly. The feminine is reactive, intensifying every energy it encounters. When the masculine is missing, she overcompensates. When he is disoriented, she spirals. But when he is present, aware, and deeply grounded in his purpose, she naturally softens. She doesn't need persuading, only to feel his true presence. And that presence isn't about asserting alpha dominance, it's about embodying the divine. It's about channeling kingly energy. The kind that doesn't need to shout because its quiet conviction speaks volumes. The kind of energy that respects the power of the feminine without trying to reign over it. Yet we lost that sacred model. Noble leadership and sees his wife as the embodiment of the goddess rather than as competition disappeared. He taught that a woman's gentle nature wasn't weakness. It was an expression of divine grace. Now many women have had to step into roles meant for the masculine, not out of pride, but as a painful necessity. That pain runs deep. It isn't confined to online debates or boardrooms. It lives in the eyes of daughters who've never known a present father, in the bodies of mothers who have borne generations of quiet sacrifice, in the hearts of women who long to be held even as they keep their guard up. If you think this is only an issue in dating, you're missing the broader picture. This is a spiritual and civilizational matter. When the harmonious dance between masculine and feminine falters, society itself begins to crumble. The confusion, the chaos, the surge of identity battles, and the disintegration of family structures are not merely ideological, they are the energetic fallout of disrupted polarity. Yet here's the crucial truth. It isn't too late to repair this. Healing, however, isn't about reverting to old ways. It's about rediscovering something ancient and timeless. This isn't a political revolution. It's an energetic one, a reclaiming of sacred balance. Because divine polarity isn't obsolete, it is the very blueprint of creation. The masculine and feminine were never intended to be adversaries, but complementary forces, a dance of push and pull that brings harmony, fosters love, nurtures stability, and allows children to flourish. Today, that dance is fractured. Instead of flowing together, the energies now clash and resist one another. The feminine has been conditioned to distrust the masculine, and in turn, the masculine has learned to fear the feminine. Roles invert, poles reverse, and in doing so, both forget their true nature. What you're observing in modern women, their apparent hardness, independence, and emotional detachment, is not a manifestation of true empowerment. It is the exile of the feminine spirit, the result of having been forced to survive in a world that no longer cherishes her inherent essence. She has armored herself because her softness was mocked, her intuition dismissed, her mystery belittled. And though that adaptation served her survival, it came with a heavy cost. When a woman lives too long in the masculine mold, her nervous system frays. She begins to harden in inexplicable ways. She feels estranged from her own body, her sensuality, her delight. And you may have noticed it or felt it in someone you love. The gradual erosion of tenderness, the endless drive to do, the inability to simply rest and just be. It isn't a sign of being broken, it's a sign of overcompensation. And tragically, our society glorifies that overcompensation, calling it progress. Yet energetically, it represents a profound fracture, a misalignment. The feminine was never meant to lead solely through logic. Her power resides in her emotional flow, her receptivity. In that natural state, she is luminous, magnetic, alive. She gives birth, not merely to life itself, but to the very spirit of creation. Here's something many men overlook. When the feminine embraces her authentic power, she doesn't need to protest or argue. She simply exists, softly altering everything in her orbit. But she can do that only when she feels secure enough to yield. And for her, safety transcends monetary terms. It is primarily energetic, a confidence that she can fall and still be caught, speak and not be silenced, feel and not be judged. If that safety is missing, she shifts into survival mode. And survival mode femininity often masquerades as modern empowerment. Yet it's full of anxiety, caution, and reactivity. It's a mask, not the core self. So the pressing question becomes, what role do you play in this dynamic? Whether you are a man or a woman, the healing must start within. The outer world reflects an inner disarray. Realigning this isn't about changing others. It's about rediscovering who you truly are. For a man, the imperative isn't to dominate the feminine, but to anchor it, to provide the energetic framework that allows her to exhale, to be so rooted in purpose, presence, and direction that she naturally feels safe enough to surrender. For a woman who has become hardened, worn, and relentlessly pushing, know that you do not have to persist in survival mode. You are permitted to rest, to be embraced, to feel deeply. Your power is not measured by how much you bear. It is shown by the depth of your trust. the intensity with which you experience, and your fearless capacity to receive. And true trust in the masculine in this context starts with trusting yourself, your intuition, your body, your intrinsic worth, reconnecting with the parts of you once silenced for the sake of belonging. The sacred bring his role, not as an overlord or savior, but as an equal partner, a mirror reflecting and supporting her true essence. When a man rises with authenticity, she blossoms in trust. When he leads with love rather than control, she freely follows. But this transformation requires something radical, an inward turn, a willingness to question every narrative imposed on you about power, success, and identity. This system was constructed to distort you, to sever you from your essence, to silence both the masculine and the feminine. It's built to keep you in perpetual confusion. Yet when you attain clarity, when you align with your divine polarity, you become unstoppable, not through force, but through your very presence. The masculine becomes unyielding, the feminine becomes undeniable, and together they form an unbreakable unity. This is the timeless wisdom of ancient mystics, a truth modern society has all but forgotten. The union of masculine and feminine isn't merely about romance. It is cosmic, alchemical, life-generating. When that union is honored, love blossoms, homes are fortified, and societies prosper. When it is neglected, chaos ensues. Today we live in a world where that sacred balance has been forsaken for generations. So what you observe in modern women, their toughness, emotional distancing, and volatility, is not random. It's a collective plea, a call for the masculine to rise, not to rule over her, but to hold her safely, not from a place of ego, but from the heart. That trust must be earned through genuine presence. Ultimately, healing starts with each of us. You don't need to be the fixer or the fighter for someone else's pain. You just need to embody the truth. Because truth, by its very nature, is magnetic. It shatters illusions, dispels resistance, and awakens what has been long forgotten. When you radiate that truth, firm, grounded, and sincere, the feminine finds its voice too. Perhaps that is why you are reading this, because something inside compels you to recall a deeper reality. This is not only about women, it's about all of us and the consequences of forgetting who we are. You can sense it, the yearning for something authentic, something venerable, something sacred. Modern life offers ease and distraction, but it starves your soul. It replaces authentic polarity with superficial sameness, leaving both men and women adrift, masking their pain behind pride and labels. In truth, to be yourself, you must recall your essence beneath all the noise, trauma, and conditioning. You are more than a label or role. You are an energetic being, destined to radiate a unique frequency. If you carry masculine energy, your soul craves order and stillness. If you carry feminine energy, your spirit longs for expression and flow. These aren't stereotypes, they are hallowed blueprints. And when you ignore them, life unravels. That is why so many modern women feel anxious and isolated. They are told their worth rests solely on achievement and unyielding independence. Yet deep inside, they are drained. Their nervous systems are overstimulated. Their hearts close off. Their very essence contracts. And what's most tragic is that they believe this condition is normal. It is not normal to never feel secure enough to shed tears, to labor until you collapse, or to seek physical intimacy just to fill an emptiness that only genuine love can remedy. It is not normal to equate numbness with strength, but when an entire generation is left spiritually unattended, numbness becomes their armor, and that armor becomes their identity. So yes, modern women have transformed, not because they are inherently flawed, but because they have been compelled to embody what the world no longer offers. And now they quietly call for something real. They're not asking for a rescuer, a pushover, or an autocrat. They're asking for a partner who remembers what it means to lead with honor, who holds space without attempting to fix everything, who celebrates the feminine not for what she provides, but for her authentic being. For that to happen, something radically new must occur. You must turn inward and question every story you were taught about power, success, and who you should be. The prevailing system was engineered to distort your essence, to mute your masculine or feminine core, and to keep you in a perpetual state of disarray. But when you gain clarity, when you align with your true divine polarity, you become unstoppable, not by exertion, but by simply being. When you embody your inherent truth, Whether masculine or feminine, you ignite healing. And perhaps that is why you are here, because a part of you already knows this isn't just about external dynamics. It's about reclaiming your inner essence. You begin to sense it subtly. The universe speaks, not in thunderous declarations, but in quiet hints, in repeating numbers, lingering dreams, or a stranger's offhand remark that touches your heart. This is not mere coincidence. It is guidance from the soul community that has accompanied you since before birth. And when things fall apart, jobs, roles, relationships, this is not a failure, but a pruning. The universe is removing all that no longer mirrors who you are meant to be.